Congressman Adam Kinzinger waits for us. Good morning, Congressman.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
Nice weather out today. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
We're going to hit almost 70, it looks like, huh? Not too bad.
Yeah, and today's the day, of course, I got to go back to D.C. It's always like, I'm always on the bad end, so it's nice in D.C., I'm in Illinois. If it's nice in Illinois, I'm in D.C. That's how it goes, I guess.
Well, you get to enjoy the fine climate-controlled comfort of the plane.
Yes, that's right, and the climate-controlled comfort of the huge Capitol building, which is nice, but sometimes you don't get to see the day.
All right, Congressman, a lot to try to run through today. We'll start with Hillary Clinton, this former Secretary of State, her emails, her private server, 32,000 emails deleted. Look, there are a lot of media members who are waiting for Republicans to, quote, overreach or overplay their hand or take the focus away from Hillary Clinton and the emails and what was deleted. How did they decide what to delete? All of those questions that go into this. For you, what does this story come down to? Is it a question of national security? Was she hacked? Is it a question of personal judgment and integrity that we should judge Hillary Clinton on how she acted with this information? What is this a story about for you?
Well, look, I think, your point at the beginning is what I believe is right, which is we have to investigate this. We have to do it judiciously, but not look like we're rabid to just destroy Hillary Clinton, because I think that's the point at which, people in America goes from legitimately paying attention to this to it just becoming another attempt of Republicans to destroy Hillary Clinton. And again, we're going to have plenty of time in the campaign and in the presidential race to find things about Hillary that, that would make her a bad president or have a real conversation about it. But this is about something way more mature, I think, than even the race for president. This is about, Hillary Clinton had her own email server. She does not have all the information and all the security that U.S. government servers have. It would take up her entire house to have all the firewalls that a U.S. government server would have. So that's a big question. Did the Chinese, if they knew, for instance, or the Russians who are really good at hacking, if they knew that she had her own email account, you know that they would be searching to where that server is and try to penetrate it and get information. The other question is, she deletes half her emails and then half she turns over, by her own admission. She was the one that determined if it was work-related. Well, if I was in that situation, there may be one or two emails I'd be embarrassed about that I'd be tempted to not say was part of the work-related situation, with Benghazi and everything else. So there's a lot of questions here that I think need to be answered, but Republicans have got to do this as mature arbiters of trying to figure out what was done legally, what was done illegally to protect the people of the United States, not, we're eager to see that Hillary Clinton doesn't win. I don't think she's going to be president in 2017, and so we just need to make sure that the American people see the Republicans as willing to be mature and have a good alternative.
Congressman, Hillary Clinton says she will not turn over that physical server. Should there be a third party look into that physical server to see the emails that are there? Should there be an independent investigation into trying to get that information? Because if there is not, we have no idea what she's hiding. We have no idea what might have been deleted. Should someone other than Hillary Clinton, her advisors, and her lawyers get a chance to see what she deleted?
Well, absolutely. And I would think Hillary would be eager, if she's not hiding anything, to have a third party look at it. The third party is not going to get in there and say, hey, I'm going to go on to Google and tell everybody what Hillary did at her yoga class, or at Chelsea's wedding, or what she's having a bad day on this day. They're not going to do that. They're just going to look through and say, all right, not related. This one's related, and I think have a third party. Had you turned it over to a third party and said, like, look, I'm sorry for the confusion this has created. Third party can look through this. Anything that's work related that maybe I missed, there you go, you got it. It would have been a huge, huge difference, but it doesn't appear that she's willing to do that. And that's going to be her. I think that's going to be her loss at the end of the day, I think.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger with us here. It's Riley and Scott here on WROK. Congressman Senator Tom Cotton and 46 other Republicans sending a letter to Iran to make sure they understand what's happening here. The Senate, according to our Constitution, should get an opportunity to approve or deny what the president works out with Iran, and if not, that it can be changed by the next president. They are getting all sorts of heat placed upon them for doing this. In your opinion, is there anything wrong with what the senators, the Republican senators, did?
I believe in what they're saying. I agree that it probably would have been better had they addressed that letter to the president himself, to the American people, to anybody else. I was uncomfortable, and I'm just talking to the kids, and I'm as fired up and saying that Iran can't get a nuclear weapon. But I get concerned when 47 Republicans send a letter to the Iranian regime directly. And look, I still think, as bad as President Obama has been on foreign policy, we're going to have a Republican president, I hope, in 2 years. And we're going to need to maintain that idea of politics ending at the water's edge. I've been critical of the president and what he's done on foreign policy. But the one thing I won't do is travel overseas and criticize America and criticize the president. And I think that's, in essence, what happened with this letter. So, well, I fully agree with the content of this letter. I think Senator Cotton, who I know very well, I think he was correct in the content of it. I think if we could go back in time, probably the best thing to do would be to address that to the president, to address it to the American people, just to let them know. Iran's going to find out when you do that anyway. But on a side note, let me say this. If the president really wanted to drive a hard bargain with Iran, he could actually use that letter as a reason for Iran to come to the table, give the United States what the United States needs. He would say, look, the Senate has made it clear they are, they basically can shut this down. So you need to come with a good deal at the table so that we can actually have something that lasts. But instead, the president's, I think, more eager for any deal than a good deal. And, of course, look, within 2 weeks, we're going to have a deal with Iran. I mean, I never have had any doubt in my mind that we would not come to some kind of a deal. Because at the end of the day, they're just going to say, all right, Iran, what do you need? We got to sign something. We got to put something on paper here.
And despite the letter, it appears it's not dissuading some Senate Democrats from bucking the White House on both the deal and how it's being done. There could be a veto-proof majority in the Senate for both a sanctions bill and congressional approval legislation, too. Is that moving also in the House, the approval legislation?
Yeah, I think the House is going to be a little bit easier. We don't deal with treaties specifically in the House, but approval legislation and sanctions we will. I think we're probably in a better position to have 2/3 of majority override, number in the House. I don't know what the latest is, though, but I think we're at least approaching 2/3, if not over it. The Senate's the tough one. I mean, I think they're saying that they're at 64 or 65. They need 67. And again, at the end of the day, if you don't think the president's going to put the pressure on Democrats, then you're wrong, because he's going to put everything he's got. This is his legacy at play. He's going to tell them that, look, this is my legacy. This is our party at play. Just give me this one. And it's going to be really tough pressure. This is where the pressure of the American people is going to be so important. We have a good senator on this in Mark Kirk. I'm not sure where Dick Durbin stands. So, look, even though I don't agree with Dick Durbin on, anything, at least maybe we can put pressure on him with this and try to get him on the side of, freedom and everything. But I'm not going to hold my breath for that with Senator Durbin.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger with us here. It's Riley and Scott on WYOK. I wanted to talk a bit about the budget, too. This process is about to start to pass blueprints in both the House and the Senate. Sequestration cuts, the Budget Control Act. Look, I think it's been extremely effective in limiting spending and getting the deficit down to a more reasonable level. But I also know that there are large concerns. You have concerns. Others have concerns about what sequestration is doing to defense, the Department of Defense, military spending. There's going to be a push, I know, to at least break those sequestration caps on military spending by a number of people in the House. I think there's actually a big push this week to get others on board that effort, too. How do you do this while also making sure that the good that has come of sequestration, that the controls on spending stay in place while arguing for increased spending in the military?
Yeah, this is going to be a big battle. And look, back when we passed sequestration and the Budget Control Act, number one, nobody expected this to actually happen. Remember, this led to a super committee. That super committee was supposed to find savings. It failed. So sequester came into effect, and sequester was, frankly, meant to be the sword of Damocles. So bad for the military that it would never happen. Well, it's happening, and trust me, it is so bad for the military right now. The other issue is this. In 2011, we have not heard of ISIS. In 2011, nobody was concerned that Russia was going to invade Ukraine. In 2011, we had a world that was relatively at peace. Today, it is a much different situation. We can't say that since the world is chaotic, We still have 7 more years of budget caps that we have to live by, despite the fact that the world's burning around us, and we're calling on our military to do a lot more. I've got friends that are engaged in this war against ISIS right now, and they're under the threat of further cuts to the military next year. You just can't be on one side saying you have to destroy America's enemies, and on the other side saying we have to make sure the military is not getting money. The problem is this. It's easier to cut the military nowadays than it is to have a grown-up conversation about long-term entitlement spending in this country. That's where the issue is. That's why we're in debt, is because of, look, not saying we have to make changes for current seniors, those entering retirement. We don't. But the federal government is facing what Illinois is facing in the same way. Mm-hmm. Benefits that exceed what's been paid in. So I'm 37 years old. Tell me you're going to make a little change to Social Security for me, a 37-year-old. That's fine. I can plan for it. We can save the long-term deficit problem and the long-term debt problem in this country. Those are the kinds of decisions we're going to have to make. But trust me, if we rob our military today of the resources it needs to be the best military in the world, it's not like you can just turn the faucet on tomorrow and we've got the military we used to have again. It takes 5 to 10 years to recover from that, and that's with very intense spending. And by the way, we're also losing our technological edge to China, because in the last few years we have not been able to develop and invest in research and development like we have in the past. So, yes, what we need to do is find cuts in long-term mandatory spending, and with that money, we need to plus up the military to where it needs to be to defend our country.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger with us. Before we let you go, I wanted to get your reaction to what's happening in the Senate on a human trafficking bill. I know this is a big priority for one of your colleagues we talked to Congressman Randy Holtgren's been talking about human trafficking for a long time. Got a bill through the House. It's in the Senate. It was going to pass, but Democrats now saying no vote at all. It would set up a fund financed by fines from crimes, money used to aid basically domestic trafficking, human trafficking victims. Democrats are denying a vote on this because the language in it says that money, which is meant to help human trafficking victims, would bar it from being used to fund abortions. Basically an expansion of the Hyde Amendment. But Harry Reid's shutting things down over this one provision that everyone, apparently the Democrats, either missed or just got some pressure from the far left wing to fight on. What's your reaction?
Well, it's ridiculous. From what I understand, this has been standard language for decades in bills like this, which says simply this money cannot be used to provide for abortions. That makes a ton of sense. We can have the argument about abortion, and I'm pro-life, but we should definitely not be saying that where there's federal resources involved or where the federal government has set up a fund where there's resources involved, that should allow for an abortion, because this is a very divided country on that issue, and I think that's incredible. So look, if Harry Reid wants to stop a good bill to set up for helping victims of human trafficking because of abortion politics, that's on him. But next time people say that, Republicans are the ones to always go into social issues, I'll remind them of what Harry Reid's doing, denying women the ability from sex trafficking, the help that they need because of abortion politics. It's ludicrous. At the end of the day, I don't think his position will hold out. But good on McConnell for threatening to slow down the nomination of Loretta Lynch and to get this done.
All right, Congressman Adam Kinzinger from Illinois' 16th District. We always appreciate your time and the insight. We'll talk again soon.
You bet. Great talking to you. Take care.